Greetings, little guzzlers. We're going to do some baking. We're going to start something which we will finish off tomorrow, but we're going to do a vegan dessert, if you like. Cookies, actually, not really a dessert. I'm going to be using them as part of a dessert, but we're going to make some Biscoff cookie sandwich cookies. Okay, now these are vegan, and you know, if you didn't want vegan you could substitute some other things, but I've got to do a vegan menu. So for this we're going to make the cookies, or rather we're going to make the cookie dough. It's going to go in the fridge overnight. If you're you know, in a bit of a push, you need to chill it for at least 2 hours. We're going to do ours overnight, and then when that's done and cooked, we'll do the filling. Now for the filling you're going to need some Biscoff spread, but for the actual cookies really it's just a vegan cookie. So that's what we're going to do. So I've got a bowl, and into that I'm going to put 100 grams of cast sugar, 100 grams of soft brown sugar. Okay, just going to give them a quick mix together and just break up a few of them lumps. And then into that I'm going to add 75 mils of cold water. In that goes. A teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay. I should point out, by the way, this is another cupcake gemma recipe. I was looking for a vegan recipe, and she had a rather nice one, this one, so that's what we're doing. So that goes into there, and then I've got 120 grams of sunflower oil. Now I normally just use olive oil, but olive oil will impart obviously some flavour to it. So plain vegetable oil or sunflower oil is what you want. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of gently mix that together. Obviously it's very liquid at this stage. And then what we're going to add into that is some dry ingredients. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a little bit longer, and then I'll tell you what the dry ingredients are. Right, so I've got some plain flour, 300 grams of that, so in that goes. I've got 3/4 of a teaspoon of bicarb, in that goes. I've got a teaspoon of baking powder, in that goes. And then I've got half a teaspoon of salt. So now what we do is we just combine all this together until we get a nice dough. Okay, so it's just a matter of keep mixing it round till it's all nicely incorporated, all mixed in, and we've got a nice dough. So there you go, a nice dough. And what we're going to do is we're now just going to leave that in there, cover it with some cling film, and then, like I said, that's going to go in the fridge, and we're going to chill this one overnight. Okay, like I said, needs a minimum of 2 hours chilling. Okay, so that's as far as we can get today. Now for the filling, which we'll do tomorrow, you're going to need some sunflower spread, or you know, some kind of vegan sort of butter, some shortening. I never realised, I thought Trex in the UK was lard, but it's not. It's vegan. Fat, I suppose. I couldn't get hold of any of that, so I'm going to use some extra of the butter spread, but I'll show you that when we come to do that. We're going to need 400 grams of icing sugar. We're going to want some Biscoff spread. Okay, buy that in a jar. You may want a touch of milk, but obviously because this is vegan, we'll be using non-dairy milk or water, just if we need to loosen up the filling, if you like. And then you're going to, if you want, You can also partly decorate the finished sandwich bit cookies with some melted chocolate, and if you can do that, crumble over some Biscoff biscuit crumbs. All right, but the chocolate, if you can't get vegan or you don't want the chocolate, that's optional. Okay, and obviously the biscuit crumbs are only if you can add the chocolate. So I will catch up with you tomorrow. Right, so here we go. Here's my dough, nicely chilled and rested about 20 hours later. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make 25 gram balls. Ooh, a bit large. Actually, I think I might go for 30 because otherwise they're going to look a little bit small, aren't they? So we just weigh out 30 grams, roll it into a ball, and then for now I'm just going to put it into the dish because we're going to put these into the freezer. Okay, I'm using gloves because they're quite oily. So I'm going to get these all weighed out, and then we'll put them in the freezer and we'll keep them in there for about 10 minutes, and then at which point we'll put the oven on. Okay, so these have been in the freezer for a little bit, and just going to take them out and place them onto the baking mat. Okay, we want to allow them to spread. Okay, so I'm going to just do one batch, and then we'll put the remainder back into the freezer whilst we get ready to do the other batch. Okay, now they will spread a little bit. Obviously they're not huge, so they ain't going to go too far, hopefully, he said. Okay, I've got the oven hot, well, I've got it up to temperature 175, and it's going to go in there between 12 and 15 minutes. So that's our cookies out of the oven. Some of them cooled down, some of them just come out. They're still cooling on the rack here. And I've paired them up. At the moment I've got one spare. We might taste that later. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pair the filling. Okay, now for that you're going to want some, and again because it's obviously a vegan meal, you want some vegan spread or butter. So I've got some vegan butter there, 75 grams, and then 75 grams of shortening. Now I couldn't get hold of any shortening. I thought, apparently here it's known as Trex in the UK. Couldn't find it anywhere. Couldn't even find supermarket owned brand shortening. So I've doubled the amount of butter, and we're using 150 grams of vegan butter. You want 400 grams of ice and sugar. You might need to dilute it down a bit if you like, if it's quite firm. So for that we would normally use milk, but obviously we can't use milk because it's vegan, so you'd use some vegan alternative milk. Okay, and you're also going to want some Biscoff spread to give the filling, if you like, the Biscoff flavour. We're also going to finish them off by partly dunking them in some melted chocolate. So I've got some dark vegan chocolate, and I'm going to melt that down, and then I've got some Biscoff biscuits that I've crumbled up, which we will just sprinkle over the chocolate. So I'm just going to move these while they cool out of the way, and then we'll start making the filling. So I've got my vegan butter in there, and what we're going to do, we're now going to beat this a bit like we would do if we're making a buttercream. Now, because of the nature of the vegan butter and shortening, if you're using it, this will take a lot more whisking up or beating up than normal. So I'm going to get that going, get it nice and creamy, and then we'll start adding the other ingredients. Okay, so we now take our ice and sugar, and what we're going to do is we're just going to add half of that in there, and then I'm going to start just lightly beating that in with the spatula just simply to avoid all the clouds of icing sugar everywhere. And then we'll beat that in with the mixer and then add the remaining bit and mix that in as well. Okay, so I'll catch up with you once all that icing sugar is whisked in. So like I said, to get that Biscoff flavour, we're going to take a nice big spoonful of the Biscoff spread, and we're then going to mix that in to the rest of the frosting. Okay, so after that, that's when we may then decide we just want to add a little bit of non-dairy milk just to loosen it up, but I'll see how we get on. So I've transferred it into a piping bag, and what we're going to do is we're just going to put a ring of this mixture around the outside of the cookie. Okay, I probably could do with loosening this up a little bit more. Alright, so we're just going to go around, we're leaving a hole in the middle. Okay, you'll see why that is. Okay, once we've done this bit. So I'm just going to get these done, and then I'll show you what we're putting in the middle. So we're now going to take some of our Biscoff spread, and we're just going to put a dollop of this into that little well that we've created. Okay, and then having done that, we then just lightly sandwich them together, so you won't see, oops, I haven't done that one yet, you won't see the Biscoff centre. Okay, so I'm just going to fill the rest of them, get them piped, and then we'll do the finishing touch with the chocolate. So that's my sandwiches all done. So I'm now going to pick one up, and I'm just going to dunk it into that chocolate. Okay, and just place it on here until I've got them all nicely dunked. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to lightly sprinkle some of that, whoops, that one was coming apart, that lightly crushed, well I say lightly, it's pretty damn well crushed. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that on the top of each one, and I will show you a little close up in when I've finished, but there you go, that's your finished article. Just need to let that chocolate set. So I've got two that I haven't put any chocolate on because basically I run out of melted chocolate and I couldn't be bothered just to do two for them. So there we go, there's our finished article, still drying. Now what I have here is one cookie that didn't have a partner, oh dear, so we're going to try it. So I've added my ring of Biscoff flavoured frosting, if you like, and with a little bit of Biscoff in the middle. Nice crisp outer, slightly chewy, very sweet, but bear in mind you would normally have another cookie with that. Okay, whereas I've got the double cookies worth of filling, haven't I, on one. But very nice. So there you go. There we are, your vegan Biscoff cookie sandwiches. And enjoy them later. And I very much doubt there being spares to take into work.